Where's the real Rudy?
But the public's not the marrying kind. They're just looking for a hump, and you're their chippy of the moment.
So you are a film historian. There are parts of Coriander that gives the viewer an idea of what the movie business was about in 1926.
Absolutely.
Characterizes, in your point of view, that business before synchronized sound and talking pictures and the era afterward from a business point of view?
Well, the primary difference, I think, is that it was a business in formation during the silent years. And you had an almost, it's more of a showman sense in that period, where the movies, the cost of them was not the way it would become in a few years with sound, which dramatically increased the cost of the movies. The cost wasn't as high, and the return on almost everything you made was going to be gigantic. And so that meant that there were not just directors who wanted to experiment with the form, but the producers were willing to experiment, and they were willing to play, and they were willing to let things happen, because they all felt that everything we're doing is unique. So let's find what works.
Right.
And once sound came in, it became much more of a corporate approach. The idea that we are going to make movies on an assembly line. Now, interestingly enough, in the old days, because it was silent, they could be shooting 3 movies simultaneously in the same stage.
Right.
You know, we see that wonderful moment in Singing in the Rain when he's walking between them. That's absolutely true. So you would look at it and go, well, isn't that an assembly line approach? To a degree, it is an assembly line approach, but it's also a recognition that the art form allowed that at the time. What they did once sound came in was they had to create now a different kind of an assembly line, because during the silent era, they got used to things like a studio knocking out, oh, geez, sometimes they were knocking out like 400 or 500 movies a year.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, when we got to sound, that number got down to about 200, 150 to 200, you know, for the bigger studios. So they had to create systems by which things could be done efficiently and more quickly. But in the creation of that system, the producer started to take on more power, whereas in the silent era, it was the director who had more of the creative power. Yeah.
Back to Valentino, his image as a Latin lover influenced Hollywood at least for a couple generations, I would say, after his death. Which film or films that are accessible can give someone an idea of his appeal or his imprint as an actor?
There's several that are available readily.
Right.
I mean, a lot of them are available online. You just go to YouTube.
Sure.
And look at them. But I would say that the ones that really address that appeal are Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse, which is the one where he does the tango for the first time.
Right.
Chic, the Chic, which really, I think, crystallizes the sort of Valentino, both I am the dominator of the woman and I am submissive to the woman. So that was what was so important about him, was that he split that difference. And then I think it's really worth it to see the Son of the Sheik, which was the one that, in fact, in Coriander is the one that they're constantly talking about, because that was the one that was about that, and the Eagle were about to be released when suddenly he died. And there was that terror of, oh my God, how do we sell a movie, you know, but with a sex god who's dead?
Finally, in working within the world of that moment, circa 1926, which movie studio would you have liked to be part of as far as being in the room where it happened? And how do you think that answer influenced Coriander?
You know, in terms of the studio at the time that really appeals to me, you know, I suppose everybody would want to say MGM, but it doesn't. It would be Paramount. Paramount, to a great degree, processed the silent film into the sound film in a way that I think was more cinematic, than MGM. Warner Brothers started from scratch practically with sound, you know, in terms of the kind of movies they were doing. Paramount was the one that branched it. So Paramount had taken all these wonderful noirish touches from the expressionists, the German expressionists, moved them into the American idiom, and then from that moved it forward to what would eventually become the film noir. So
Excellent.
I think it would definitely be that. And of course, as soon as I say those words, expressionism and noir, that's packing Coriander right there.
All right.
Yeah.
So where is it available? How can people access it?
It is available on a lot of platforms. It's on Amazon Prime, on Google Play, Apple, um, what's the Xfinity?
Great.
Those would be the main ones.
Great.
So it's readily available and everybody should see it.
This is Patrick McDonald for HollywoodChicago.com. Copyright 2021.